I recently joined 74 of my colleagues here in the Senate in writing a letter to express our concerns with the recent bid by the Palestinian Authority to join the International Criminal Court. Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, has stated that the Palestinian Authority will be given member status on April 1st. Several weeks ago, the State Department and White House announced that they would conduct a review of all U.S. assistance to the PA. Can you share what determinations you have made thus far regarding the review, and do you believe the Palestinians have taken the required steps to trigger a cutoff of U.S. aid?
Well, we believe that the Palestinians do not qualify as a state to be able to apply. And we have made that position known to the prosecutor, as did several other countries. In addition to that, we stated to the Palestinians in the strongest terms that we really thought this was inadvisable, a terrible exercise of judgment that would have profoundly negative impacts, among them the potential cutoff of aid from the United States. And the issue now really will be determined when and if something happens around April 1st with their assumption of membership. What has happened so far is a preliminary inquiry is underway. It is not a formal investigation under the ICC. So I haven't, this is not an answer from the lawyers at the State Department. I'm giving you my quick interpretation from reading the statute, which I have, that it's arguable whether or not they have at this point, simply by applying but without pressing a particular case, cross that line. But we still believe what they have done is a mistake. It's inadvisable. It's destructive. It hurts the building of confidence. It makes it harder for, obviously, anybody to look at them and believe, that they're ready to be a partner in things. On the other hand, they're very frustrated. They're deeply angry. They see settlement announcements coming out in large numbers and so forth, and they're politically very frustrated. So it's a very difficult situation right now, and my hope is we're staying out of the elections. We don't want to get involved, but when the election is over in Israel, our hope is that there may be some opportunity to be able to try to get things right-sized again and be able to do something constructive, but it's very difficult.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Earlier, you talked about the success of airstrikes in Iraq with ISIL or ISIS, whatever. But there are reports from a variety of sources that ISIS's area of influence in Syria is close to twice the size it was when the U.S. began airstrikes in last June. So we're championing the success in Iraq, and yet it doesn't seem like we're having much success, in fact, perhaps going the other way in Syria.
There's been, Senator, there's been a slight increase. It is a fact. There has been a slight increase of ISIL presence in Syria. But I can't by any means describe what is happening to them in Syria as a big advance. They've been stopped in Syria also. Remember, Kobani was going to be the big test, and they were days away from running over Kobani. We came in with very significant strikes, but more importantly, we came in and diplomatically worked with the Turks and with the Kurds and made it possible for Peshmerga to be able to pass through a corridor and come into Kobani and reinforce it. And by continuing the strikes and joining in that effort, ISIL ultimately had to admit it lost. They were defeated, and they lost as many as 1,000 fighters there. So we have been able to do some of the things, but I think it's well known. Everybody knows this. We're going to have to increase the capacity on the ground in Syria in order to be able to have more impact. That's what we're building. We're building it now with the Title X overt training that Congress has approved. That begins this month. And there are other things that are taking place that will augment the ability of the moderate opposition to be able to have an impact on Assad. So I believe that over the next months, in my judgment, the pressure can increase significantly on the Assad regime, and that will affect who is willing to do what on the ground. At the moment, I'm not going to pretend to you that the force is there that's ready to do that. But as Iraq takes place and confidence is built and they're driven back into Syria, which they will be, then the focus will be much more on Syria.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.